You meet someone for the first time, a new coworker, a stranger at a bus stop, a face on a dating app, and before they say a single word, your brain has already decided something about them. Can you trust them? You didn't ask for this judgment. It happened on its own. In less than a tenth of a second, your mind looked at the shape of a stranger's eyebrows, the curve of their mouth, the width of their jaw, and quietly handed you a verdict. Friend or threat? Safe or dangerous? Before logic even arrived, your gut had already voted. This isn't a personality quirk. It's not something you were taught. It's older than language, older than cities, older than the idea of a stranger being anything other than a life or death decision. The psychologist Alexander Todorov spent years studying exactly how fast this happens. In his research, people were shown unfamiliar faces for just a fraction of a second, sometimes less than 100 milliseconds, barely long enough to register that a face was even there. And still, they made confident judgments. Trustworthy, competent, aggressive. The brain didn't wait for more information, it didn't need it. Why would evolution build a system this fast and this confident off so little? Because for most of human history, getting it wrong could kill you. Picture your ancestors 40,000 years ago. Small bands of people moving across open land, sharing fire, sharing food, sharing risk. Most of the people you ever saw in your life, you already knew. Your tribe, your family, faces you had watched grow up, age, change. A stranger was rare, and a stranger was a question mark with teeth. Was this person from a friendly group? Someone who might trade, might share knowledge of water or game? Or were they a scout from a hostile band sizing up your camp, your children, your weaknesses? There was no time to interview them, no background check, no slow, careful gathering of evidence. You needed an answer in seconds, sometimes in a single glance across a clearing. And so your brain built a shortcut. A fast, rough, instinctive read of the face in front of you, built from cues that had nothing to do with who the person actually was, and everything to do with how their features happened to be arranged. This is the part that should unsettle you a little. The shape of someone's face has almost nothing to do with their character, and yet your brain treats it like a reliable signal anyway. Researchers have found that faces with certain proportions, wider, rounder, with features that resemble a relaxed or happy expression, even at rest, get rated as more trustworthy by nearly everyone who looks at them. Across different cultures, different ages, different backgrounds. Faces with lower brows or features that resemble anger or sadness, even in neutral expression, get rated as less trustworthy. None of this is about the person's actual behavior. It's about geometry, bone structure, inherited proportions you have zero control over. Your ancestors didn't have the luxury of getting to know everyone slowly. They needed a fast filter, even an imperfect one. So evolution gave them one. And it gave it to you too, fully installed, running quietly in the background every single time you look at a new face. There's a second layer to this, and it comes from a different but related discovery. The psychologist Robert Zion studied something called the mere exposure effect. In his experiments, people were shown random, meaningless images again and again, things like nonsense shapes or unfamiliar symbols. The participants had no reason to prefer one over another. And yet, the more often they saw a particular image, the more they began to like it. Familiarity itself, with no other information attached, was enough to build comfort. This is why a stranger's face can feel different the second time you see it. Even if nothing about them has changed, even if you've learned nothing new, your brain registers the repetition as a kind of safety signal. I've seen this before. It didn't hurt me, it must be fine. Combine these two systems and you get something remarkable. A snap judgment built from facial geometry, layered with a growing sense of safety built from simple repeated exposure. Together, they form what feels like trust. But really, it's two ancient survival shortcuts working in tandem, neither one actually checking whether the person deserves it. There's a third piece, and it comes from the study of expression itself. The psychologist Paul Ekman spent decades documenting how certain facial expressions, fear, anger, joy, disgust, appear in remarkably similar form across cultures that had almost no contact with each other. A smile in a remote village looked structurally like a smile in a major city. This wasn't learned through media or imitation. It pointed to something built in, a shared visual language written into the human face long before any of the languages we speak today existed. Your brain isn't just reading static features, it's also scanning for the faintest trace of these universal expressions, even in a face trying to stay neutral. A barely raised brow, a tiny tightening around the eyes, signals so small you'd never consciously notice them, but your ancient pattern-matching system catches them anyway and feeds them straight into your gut reaction. So when you meet someone new today, you are not making a single decision. You are running three ancient systems at once. A snap geometric read of bone structure and resting expression. A creeping sense of safety built from repeated exposure. And a constant background scan for the universal flickers of fear, anger, or warmth hiding underneath someone's composed face. All of this happens before you've exchanged a single sentence. Here's where it gets strange though. The world your brain was built for no longer exists. You don't live in a small band of 40 people anymore. You live in a world of subway cars, video calls, dating apps, crowded streets, and online profiles, surrounded by thousands of unfamiliar faces a week, sometimes a day. Your ancient trust system, built for a world where a stranger was a rare and serious event, is now firing constantly on people who are simply trying to get their coffee or catch their train. This is why first impressions feel so powerful and why they're also so often wrong. The system was never built for accuracy. It was built for speed in a world where speed mattered more than precision. A false negative wrongly distrusting a friendly stranger cost you a missed alliance. A false positive wrongly trusting a hostile one could cost you your life. So evolution tuned the system to lean cautious, fast, and emotionally loud, even though most modern strangers pose no threat at all. Think about the last time you formed an instant opinion of someone based on nothing but their face. A job interview, a first date, a new neighbor, you probably felt confident in that read. Most people do. But studies on snap judgments consistently show that these fast facial impressions correlate poorly with someone's actual trustworthiness or competence. The geometry of a face simply isn't a reliable window into character. It never was. It just feels like one because the system that produces the feeling is so old, so fast, and so convincing. And yet, you can't simply switch it off. It isn't a belief you hold, it's closer to a reflex, wired in below the level of conscious thought, the same way you flinch before you even register what you flinched from. Maybe that's the real twist hiding inside this. The instinct that lets you form a snap opinion of a stranger's face isn't a flaw in your character. It's a fossil, a leftover survival tool from a world of small, dangerous, unpredictable encounters, still running quietly inside a brain that now spends most of its day surrounded by harmless faces it will never see again. So the next time you meet someone and some wordless part of you decides almost instantly whether you like them, remember what's actually happening underneath. It isn't really about them. It's a 40,000-year-old alarm system, still scanning every new face the way it once scanned for danger across the edge of a firelit camp. You meet someone for the first time, and somewhere behind your eyes an ancient guard is still standing watch, deciding in less time than it takes to blink whether this stranger is safe.